Good morning. I wanted to start this episode, further explorations in chapter or episode 13, if you will. This will be part trace. Further exposing how time and math have been purposely tampered with from its onset. You know, we've been provided a fundamentally flawed, fundamentally broken, system as part of our enslavement. Anyway, wanted to lighten things up just a tiny bit before we launched into those further explorations of subterfuge and lies by sharing a little bit of art, poetry that I had just came up with here in my Facebook group that I run. And my name is Mark McGuire. I'm not trying to hide behind any little cute little BitChute names or YouTube personas. My YouTube channel is under Mark McGuire, MAGUIRE. You can see this is my Facebook account, Mark McGuire. It's spelled MAGUIRE. That's the traditional Celtic, the Anglo-Saxon approximation or bastardization thereof. But McGuire, it's not MCGWIRE like the baseball players. Anyway, just clear that up. But this is my account. For due diligence sake, just wanted to let it be known who I am, when you leave comments on my BitChute videos or whatever under your cute little, BitChute persona account, that's not your real name. It's just whatever it is you feel comfortable within the anonymity of your persona, commenting, making your comments, that's fine. But you know what? This is who I am. So this is who I be. And I'm going to share this bit of art that I posted to my Facebook group that I'm the admin for. I created this to further help in elevating the planet Earth to its fifth dimension and beyond. So anyway, if you're interested in that, look that group up. I wanted to share this post that I made to the group. Too bad you can't hear the weird music emanating from the earth as you step barefooted on the grass. Too bad you cannot feel the connections to all living things. Too bad you cannot see that the past, present, and future are one of the same kind. Too bad that you and I cannot be on the same plane. Don't worry, you will. Walk the breadth of the ocean and see the stars straight ahead, then the sea at the bottom. A faster way is to notice the pain of not being in the fourth dimension, the metal froth, and the taste of the sulfur smell. All right, folks, that was just a little bit of poetry that I had, and I attached some photos to the post. We start at the beginning with the first photo. I started that post off with my spiritual mentor, Credo Mutwa, Namaste, Namaskaram. And then I had a few other photos, just some other kind of cool artwork, 144,000 redeemed. Let us strive with all the power that God has given us to be among the 144,000. And let us do all that we can to help others to gain heaven. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to help folks achieve the higher dimensions, gain heaven. Second coming of Christ is the return of Christ consciousness as a collective. Christ consciousness is the complete balance of your feminine and masculine energy within oneself. That is why Christ's main teaching is humanity is that the kingdom of God is within you. Yeah, folks, all these people that are trying to talk about, Jesus, salvation, Jesus coming up in the clouds, they're power brokers. They're trying to keep you in the pulpit, in the seats. They don't want you standing up and claiming the kingdom. The keys to the kingdom of God are within, folks. All right. So Flapjacks 5 and all y'all folks, I mean, just move on with your negativity, please. And this is another approximation, one universe, how the planes of existence in the Hindu cosmology operate. That's just a photo that I put in there for self gratuity or whatever. But you know, yeah, we need to love ourselves, folks. We need to recognize ourselves as sovereign humans, and you know, take your seat upon your ancient throne and speak with sovereignty. I am one star seed awakening thousands of star seeds who will awaken millions and billions of others around the world. Our mission to tip the vibrational scale of Mother Earth, bringing in love and peace and endless joy to all living beings and creatures in all dimensions. There is no room for evil intentions. We are the light and knowledge that is there, here to stay and flourish into the new earth. Let the old past fall away. Let the future remain bright. Let the present moment shine in eternal awareness. The only moment that we will ever exist is now. We are one. Namaste, namaskaram. Very nice. Mahakoin, namaste, namaskaram. Great ascended master. Just a nice community posting from our Labrador Retriever friends. These are Labrador Retrievers. They come in a variety of colors. They are loved and treated equally, no matter their color. They don't fight each other over their color differences. When it comes down to it, they are all labs. They are all dogs. Dear humans, do better, be more like labs. Namaste, namaskaram. Thank you from the lab community, from the lab nations, Labrador Retriever Nation. Thank you so much for sharing your community message to us all, your cosmic message of cosmic unity, the law of one. All right, folks, so now we're going to continue on decoding the hive mind. Folks, measurement is the foundation of math. You must first establish a point of reference in order to generate a reproducible result as compared to something else, allowing you to actually generate an equation. This means that math must be established at its quantum point of reference to even exist in a real world application at all. Math based on material existence must be made out of matter. Otherwise, you cannot establish the mass of the object. In this case, Einstein's measuring stick of the speed of light is made out of rubber. The progression of light, photon particles, slows down when traveling through water or speeds up when traveling through clear desert air. In fact, light even moves slower, 5 feet off the ground on the beach compared to 5 feet off the ground inland. It also speeds up when you raise your flashlight 10 feet higher from that. There is no constant that can be established in atmosphere light. In atmosphere, even here on Earth, much less in part of our world we had not yet been. Therefore, the speed of light is an erroneous postulation to even begin with. Einstein's theory of relativity was written in 1905, 56 years before anyone had ever even been in space, meaning all the assumptions behind the theory related to anything beyond the clouds were based on guessology from observation at an extreme distance. Let's make this clear right now, that air is water, just much thinner than what is lying in a riverbed. The particles inside of a vacuum are just as variable, since there is no way to dictate which types of particles remain inside the vacuum after the air has been sucked out, because the air is simply replaced with thinner matter that still carries innumerable variables in its volume, all of which is called air. To measure speed or distance using a non-material fluctuating measuring stick is like using the flavor of fried onions to explain the zodiac to a blind man. At the core of the smallest energy particle ever observed under the most powerful quantum microscopes ever created, there has never been discovered a single speck of mass, ever. This is not a secret. Every 5th grade science teacher who is even semi-conscious knows that only thing ever found at the core of any atomic particle, no matter how small, are lightweight. Planets are made of lightweight. People are made of lightweight, and sand particles are made of lightweight. On top of this, it has never been demonstrated that one normal rock that was larger than another normal rock attracted the other closer as if it were a magnet and the smaller one were metal. ever. Mass cannot be measured physically. It does, excuse me, let me do that one over again.
Major, B flat major.
Mass cannot be measured physically. It does not cause gravity, and mass also cannot be used in the measurement of distance, because there is no such thing as mass. There is only electrical current flowing from one ether particle to the next that has been quantum entangled through thought, which creates gravity through its own atmosphere. Particles that display a color that is coded to a gravitational signature. Planets with an atmosphere have gravity, and larger planets have more gravity. But it was never the planet that was creating gravitational pull because of its mass. It was a particulate element in the atmosphere within its field creating gravitational push, triggered by invisible light waves, which are actually sound waves. Larger planets have more atmosphere than smaller ones do, so they carry more gravity. What is in atmosphere is what creates gravity, which you are about to learn more about than quantum science knows. The Michelson-Morley experiment. Now, we have an entire world filled with highly advanced mathematics based on this completely flawed foundation that light speed can be considered a constant, depending on the humidity of the air. As explained, it isn't constant in water, it isn't constant in air, it isn't constant in even the most passionately created vacuum, because particulates differ in molecular density throughout the ether, even in space. Always, because light itself is an elemental particle called a photon that carries its own signature. Ether has always been on the front lines of attack since the first university opened its door to teach ciphered hermetic alchemy. If there's such a thing as ether, then there has to be such a thing as God, or some other driving force behind creation other than green slime bursting out of nothingness and into billions of perfectly functioning living organisms, as if life is so basic in design that given enough time and enough bags of kitchen trash, monkeys would be able to grow their own creation inside their watering buckets. Oh my God. Ooh, this entity of the Michelson-Morley experiment was performed over the spring and summer of 1887 by Albert A. Michelson and Edward W. Morley at what is now Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, and published in November of the same year. It compared the speed of light in perpendicular directions in an attempt to detect the relative motion of matter through the stationary luminiferous ether, the ether wind. The result was negative in that the expected difference between the speed of light and the direction of movement through the presumed ether and the speed at right angles was found not to exist. This result is generally considered to be the first strong evidence against then prevalent ether theory, which said ether doesn't exist and that particles are functioning strictly off of coincidence with no higher thought form behind them, and initiated a line of research that eventually led to special relativity, which rules out a stationary ether. The experiment has been referred to as the moving off point, or the theoretical aspects of the second scientific revolution. In other words, ether does in fact exist because there is no such thing as something at the quantum level that is stationary. Light does not travel at fixed speed, and the theory of relativity is fundamentally and factually inaccurate. When the children are happy, the world sings. Today, it is well known across scientific fields that these are true. But for some reason, now more than 100 years later, you still haven't heard of it. In fact, the utterly corrupt academic world is no less fully aware as such monumental experiments prove beyond any doubt that accepted science is based on fallacy. They simply don't bother to mention it in the classroom. And voila,
Problem solved. Apparently, it takes millions of little acts of God sending private messages to self-styled physicists such as myself to prompt us all one by one to learn the truth and then scream it from apple crates on street corners. Otherwise, humanity would be destined to continue to worship the omnipotent Son, God seated on the throne of math, marking the date with their broken calendars, using their broken watches to set the hour, so you will never know anything about the celestial bodies and their alignments that regulate your electronic field, that regulates your entire perspective on reality. Anunnaki numbers are designed to loop, and the field surrounding you is designed to keep you from ever seeing how they do that, both to your equations, such as in fractions, and to your physical view before your eyes that are generated exclusively by electromagnetic energy. Later, when the theory of relativity began to break down when challenged by even greater applications, Einstein came out with the theory of special relativity to explain the exception as mentioned in Wikipedia. Then, when the theory of special relativity failed, it reverted again, this time back to Newtonian law, the previous and archaic answer to gravity and math in general. Neither of Einstein's theories answers the questions of what it is you are observing with your eyes, and that is exactly why Einstein constantly reminded everyone that his were theories, not laws. Both relativity and special relativity are theories based on intensely minimal understanding of the fluid dynamics of third-dimensional physics only, and have nothing to do with what is outside of this atmosphere. So they can never answer why gravity actually exists or how it is created, much less how far it is from Mars to Venus. Newton's law is merely observation without solid mathematical explanation to explain the effect, other than offering that what goes up seems to come down. This is not a scientific explanation, it is simply stating a fact. Science is supposed to explain why things function as they do. But since science is now based on theosophy, not actual empirical proof, his analysis stands today as if it were fact, just as much as an apple falling from a tree can hit you on the head. If you are standing under its branches, using mathematics, using mathemagics, note the wordplay there, folks, mathemagics. He was able to spin a yarn and the world brought it. It is fair to note here that while I had been refuting what authorities had been proffering as a fact, it turns out as well that the quantum society had been doing exactly the same thing, rejecting what notable college professors had to say because they knew the math was not adding up. If they hadn't, then they would never have cracked the case of the double slit experiment and proven that what Einstein called spooky action at a distance had been true science all along. Today, it is well known throughout the scientific communities that the theory of relativity is nothing more than an antiquated, archaic postulation. By the end of this report, you will see that it was no more accurate than fiction of Newtonian law. After proving that our time had been the construct of false postulations by accredited celebrities and not actually based on true facts regarding accurate delineation of observable solar duration, it was time to bring my findings to the public. After all, I had just formulated my own theory on how gravity, light, heat, time, and life had to be created if both Newton and Einstein were wrong. And I was more than certain that they were. I would initially call it the theory of spatial relativity. Later, I would realize this was actually the interdimensional laws of physics. I like the way that rolls off the tongue. The interdimensional laws of physics. Of physics. All right, folks. Well, we've, as you recall, and much like to quote Credo Moutoir, I chose to be a quixotic backwards donkey. I started off this second part of the Decoding the Hive Mind with chapter 2, which I explained several episodes back. So now, with all tabulations and information, we've gone over chapter 2. So we'll be picking up in episode 14 with chapter 3, unless I decide once again, once again, or my spirit guides inspire me to be a quixotic backwards donkey yet again. Namaste, namaskaram.